Why do some nations languish in poverty while others flourish? This question has puzzled economists and historians for centuries. The answer often lies not in a lack of resources, but in the very structure of their political systems, which can either foster growth or stifle it. Those in power, the elites, often act as roadblocks to economic advancement, clinging to their privileged positions. Even at the expense of widespread prosperity, they prioritize their own interests over the collective good. This behavior stems from a fundamental fear. Change threatens their grip on power and their way of life. Economic progress, by its very nature, is disruptive and unpredictable. It creates new industries, empowers new groups, and shifts the balance of wealth and influence, often in ways that are difficult to control. For elites accustomed to wielding absolute power, such transformations are deeply unsettling and perceived as direct threats. They see progress not as an opportunity for collective betterment, but as a slippery slope to their own downfall and loss of control. This fear is not entirely unfounded, as history has shown. History is replete with examples of revolutions ignited by the widening gap between a wealthy, entrenched elite and an impoverished, disenfranchised majority. The French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, and countless other uprisings stand as stark reminders of the potential consequences of unchecked inequality and elite intransigence. These events serve as cautionary tales. Therefore, elites often resort to maintaining the status quo, even if it means suppressing innovation, stifling competition, and perpetuating poverty. They use their power to block any changes that might threaten their position. They understand that their power rests on a precarious foundation, and any tremor of change could bring the whole edifice crashing down, leading to their downfall. This is the essence of the iron law of oligarchy. Power, once consolidated, will be fiercely protected by those who hold it, often at any cost. The fear of being replaced is a powerful motivator, especially for those accustomed to the privileges of power and influence. This fear, known as the political replacement effect, is central to understanding why elites often obstruct economic progress and social reforms. They recognize that a wealthier, more educated populace is more likely to demand political rights and challenge their long-standing authority. Imagine a scenario where a ruling elite controls a lucrative industry, such as mining or agriculture, with an iron grip. They benefit greatly from keeping wages low and regulations lax, maximizing their profits at the expense of workers' well-being and safety. Now, suppose a new technology emerges that could boost productivity and raise living standards for everyone, including the workers. On the surface, this seems like a win-win situation for both the elites and the general populace. However, the elites may perceive this technological advancement as a significant threat to their control. A more prosperous workforce might start demanding better working conditions, higher wages, or even a share of the profits, leading to unrest. They might also become more politically aware and organized, challenging the elite's monopoly on power and influence. Faced with this dilemma, the elites have two options: embrace progress and risk being replaced, or resist change and cling to their diminishing power and influence. Sadly, history teaches us that they often choose the latter, opting for resistance over progress. The political replacement effect creates a perverse incentive structure, where elites prioritize self-preservation over national well-being, even if it means keeping their countries mired in poverty and stagnation. Political competition, while often messy and unpredictable, is crucial for fostering innovation and economic growth. When multiple factions vie for power, they are incentivized to promote policies that benefit the broader population, as this is often the path to gaining and maintaining support. However, when political competition is suppressed and a single group holds a monopoly on power, innovation often becomes the enemy. This is because innovation disrupts existing power structures, creates new winners and losers, and threatens the status quo that benefits the ruling elite. A prime example of this dynamic can be seen in the contrasting trajectories of England and Spain during the early modern period. England, with its relatively pluralistic political system, fostered an environment where new ideas and technologies could flourish. This paved the way for the Industrial Revolution, which transformed England into a global economic powerhouse. Spain, in contrast, remained under the grip of a powerful monarchy and a landed aristocracy that resisted any change that could undermine their authority. This aversion to innovation led to economic stagnation, ultimately relegating Spain to the periphery of the burgeoning industrial world. Section 4, the curse of easy money, political rents and stagnation. Political rents, essentially profits derived from controlling access to resources or influencing policy, are another major obstacle to economic development. When elites can enrich themselves through cronyism, corruption, and rent-seeking behavior, they have little incentive to invest in productive activities that benefit society as a whole. Consider a country rich in natural resources like oil or diamonds. Instead of using these resources to fund education, infrastructure, or diversification efforts, corrupt officials might simply siphon off the profits into offshore accounts, leaving the majority of the population mired in poverty. This phenomenon, often referred to as the resource curse, illustrates how readily available wealth can hinder development. When elites can amass fortunes through patronage and extraction, they have little reason to build a more diversified, resilient economy. This creates a vicious cycle of dependence, corruption, and underdevelopment. Breaking free from this cycle requires strong institutions that promote transparency, accountability, and the rule of law. When citizens have faith in the fairness and impartiality of the legal system, they are more likely to invest, innovate, and take risks, knowing that the fruits of their labor will not be arbitrarily seized by corrupt officials. Section 5. Ignorant and in charge. The perils of neglecting human capital. Human capital, the skills, knowledge, and health of a nation's workforce, is the true engine of economic growth. Yet, regimes more concerned with maintaining power than fostering progress often neglect this crucial asset. They may view an educated, informed citizenry as a threat to their authority, fearing that greater awareness will lead to demands for political participation and accountability. This fear manifests in underfunded education systems, limited access to healthcare, and a general disregard for the well-being of the populace. By keeping their citizens impoverished and uneducated, these regimes create a pliable workforce, less likely to challenge their rule or demand a fairer share of the economic pie. The consequences of this neglect are devastating. Without a skilled workforce, countries struggle to compete in the global economy, often relegated to producing low value-added goods with little potential for growth. This creates a self-perpetuating cycle of poverty, ignorance, and underdevelopment, where each generation is consigned to the same fate as the one before. Investing in human capital, on the other hand, yields enormous dividends. Education empowers individuals to reach their full potential, fostering innovation, entrepreneurship, and civic engagement. A healthier population is more productive, contributing more to the economy and placing less strain on social safety nets. Section 6. External threats and internal reforms, the sledgehammer of progress. While the fear of losing power often drives elites to resist change, external threats can sometimes have the opposite effect, forcing them to embrace reforms they would otherwise resist. These threats can act as a powerful motivator, pushing leaders to take actions they would have previously deemed unnecessary or even dangerous. When a nation faces an existential threat such as war or economic collapse, the ruling elite may realize that their survival depends on mobilizing the full potential of their population. This often means making significant changes to the way the country is run, including economic and social reforms. This realization can lead to a dramatic shift in priorities, where the focus moves from maintaining the status quo to actively seeking ways to strengthen the nation. Suddenly, investing in education and human capital is no longer seen as a threat, but as a necessity. The need to educate the population becomes paramount, as a well-informed and skilled populace is essential for national resilience. Political and economic reforms, once considered unthinkable, are swiftly implemented to bolster national unity and resilience. These reforms can include everything from modernizing infrastructure to changing the way the government operates. A compelling example of this phenomenon is the Meiji Restoration in 19th century Japan. This period marked a significant turning point in Japanese history. Facing growing Western encroachment and the humiliation of unequal treaties, Japan's ruling class recognized the need for radical change. They understood that without significant reforms, their nation would be left vulnerable to foreign domination. They embarked on a path of rapid modernization, embracing Western technology and ideas while simultaneously strengthening national institutions. This dual approach allowed Japan to retain its cultural identity while adopting the best practices from the West. This transformation was not without its challenges, but the threat of foreign domination provided the impetus for change that internal pressures alone had failed to generate. The urgency of the situation forced Japan to innovate and adapt quickly. Within a generation, Japan went from a feudal society on the brink of colonization to a major industrial and military power. This rapid transformation showcased the potential for progress when a nation is driven by necessity. The lesson here is that while external threats are never desirable, they can sometimes serve as a catalyst for positive change, forcing even the most recalcitrant elites to confront uncomfortable realities and embrace reforms that benefit the broader population. In the face of adversity, nations can find the strength to evolve and thrive.